Hey, welcome to Guitar on Record, a show about adventurous guitar players and some of their most adventurous work as far as recording goes. And today I'm going to talk about Zappa and Bongo Fury. I'm a very big Zappa fan. I wouldn't say this is exactly my favorite guitar record of his, but it's definitely a record that isn't talked about, or maybe it is, I don't know. But I love this era of Zappa, basically 72 or 73 to like 75. That's my favorite as far as his guitar tone and the compositions, and the band was my favorite, although there was some, just over a couple of years is a pretty long amount of time for a band of Frank's to kind of stay consistent. And I'm sure there was some in and out of different players and all of that. Definitely in the drummer chair for sure. But this is a great record because I'm a huge Beefheart fan too. And I discovered Beefheart before Zappa, and when I was, in my early teens or whatever. And I remember loving Beefheart instantly, but having a hard time getting into Zappa. And even at that time, in the early or late 70s, whatever, Frank had a ton of work or a ton of recordings out. So there's a million things to kind of dive into and trying to figure out. So anyway, this is a record that I love from this period, and I think it just stands out obviously because it was the only tour that he did with Beefheart. And he did some other, he very infrequently recorded with Beefheart. On the lost episodes, there's 3 or 4 pieces that are really amazing and funny and all of that with Beefheart on them. And it's not that I wish they had done more, but I think they did this record, and I know it was a pretty frustrating record or tour to do because Captain Beefheart, Don Villette, was pretty inconsistent and losing stuff, and probably pretty frustrating for a band leader and a guy paying for everything that he was always so fondly about, always fondly talking about how he had to pay for everything and all of that. So I did some research into the equipment that he used around this time, and I recently bought this book. If you can read that, hopefully you can. It's called Zappa Gear by, what's the guy's name? Mike Eckers. And so, really interesting book. I'm not a completist as far as Zappa goes, but I have a ton of stuff, tons of magazines, so I'm definitely a collector. But that's a great addition, and I thought there'd be some mentioning of what he might have used around this time. And I'm sure there's answers out there, and if you know, that'd be great, because I'm pretty sure he's using a Marshall JMP 50-watt head, and from the recording, he's using either the Roxy SG or some kind of guitar with the Bigsby, because there's lots of tremolo, vibrato work on it. That doesn't sound like a Strat. It doesn't sound like a Fender style bridge, and it's not going that. It's more subtle, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And he's definitely using like the Mutron bi-chorus and some kind of like envelope type deal, and I have to say those are probably some kind of Mutron product from around that time that he did use a lot. I don't know which one. I'd love to figure that out. In this book it mentions the effects, his guitars, and all of that, and so I just kind of did a cursory look just today to kind of see if I could find anything about it, and I didn't find anything definitive about it, and I'm gonna do more research or whatever, and maybe look at the book more. Anyway, so getting back to Bongo Fury, it starts out with Deborah Cadabra, which is a great Beefheart vocal delivery and all the great things that he does. And there's tons of great Zappa isms as far as composition, and it's kind of an interesting juxtaposition of the Captain Beefheart aesthetic, and the fucking lyrics are great. I mean, they're really great, and I find them humorous with lots of depth too. So I see the humor in it from my point of view, and some of them are some of the deepest things I think I've ever heard from, like a singer that was obviously super original. Maybe not in vocal delivery, because we know he's a huge Howlin' Wolf fan and, old kind of blues singer, aficionado or whatever. But he has so many weird inflections and unique inflections that, how he changes his voice so much. It's really, really cool and really, really original. So, yeah, Deborah Cadabra, great Beefheart thing. And the next song is Carolina Hardcore Ecstasy. That's a great Zappa tune that has been played on quite a few tours, I think. I mean, I've heard it a lot on the times I saw Frank. And just the line, just great guitar stuff, the unison stuff, like the compositional, motifs that Frank uses with, which would have probably been like on marimba or something, with if Ruth was in the band, is kind of played more on guitar and that kind of deal. So also on this record is Denny Wally, who does slide guitar. So he's the guitar player. George Duke is keyboard, so he's doing a lot of those unison things, probably by himself. And Napoleon Murphy Brock singing and playing sax. Bruce Fowler trombone, and I think Tom Fowler's bass. And Terry Bozzio plays on most of the record, with Chester Thompson playing on 200 Years Old and Cucamonga, which are studio cuts. And so there's some interesting things going on with this record too, because some of it, you can tell 200 Years Old is a studio thing, and Cucamonga you can tell as well. But Muffin Man starts out like it's like Zappa does an intro that's really funny because he messes up and laughs and keeps going, which I always love that. And the riff for Muffin Man's obviously amazing. So anyway, that's the end song. But that one has some elements of studio, but it sounds like the solo, I forget the word he used for where he would pull solos out of a live recording and then dump them onto a studio cut, because, he felt that his live recordings of solos were better than anything he could ever do in the studio. So anyway, 200 Years Old is got some amazing weird phase on it. So it's got to be one of a Mutron or that Oberheim thing. These are all really foreign. Like the Mutron stuff, I know that the envelope filter, but the others, like that chorus and flanger and phase effects that they had, I'm not too familiar with them, except I know they exist and that he had them. So it sounds like a phase, but there's these cool envelope part, and I don't mean like an Ottawa envelope, but some kind of envelope involving the phase. And I think that's what those did. They had some multiple kind of effect type thing using envelopes. Anyway, the solo is really great, and he's definitely doing a lot of these vibrato stuff, and it sounds like a Bigsby or that style of bridge. It does, like I said before, it's not like a Strat where it's more extreme and more the intervals or the whatever are not as big. They're more subtle, like you would get kind of buttery, I guess that's a word. I don't know if I would use that, but that's what I think. And so great blues song, definitely a highlight of the record. And then we go into Cucamonga, which is, again, a super cool tune. Lots of great Zappa parts and kind of melodic inventions, and just I don't want to say riffs, but just really neat, like unison stuff going on, and very much like Frank. So, and there's some great Zappa vocals. He does the vocals on it. It's, well, by great, if you love Frank as a vocalist, then you would love this or this song. It's really, really, really good. And again, that was a studio track. Then Advanced Romance, which is it's probably the biggest song off the record, and that has some amazing singing by Napoleon. And I think they do that on You Can't Do That on Stage Volume 2, the Helsinki shows, which is probably another record I should do for my series of guitar record reviews, because his tone on that is incredible. So again, I'm kind of getting off track, but check that record out as well. So it's like this is a really bluesy record, is kind of what I've come down to, and I don't know why that is. Maybe it's the Denny Wally part, or I don't know. I wouldn't consider Captain Beefheart blues at all, but maybe there's just something like that informed it more than usual. But definitely a lot of blues type material, and I don't mean from a rhythmic standpoint or even a harmony standpoint, but just the feel. And a lot of the solos are very bluesy. So this song's like 11 minutes long, or 12 minutes long, and has a killer slide solo by Denny Wally, who was a great slide player, or is, and that is a nice little kind of, that's halfway through the song. And then Frank takes one where he's doing tons of the tremolo, vibrato stuff, and you definitely hear he's changing how his solos are going. They're getting a little more out there rhythmically than what they were doing like a year or two before that. It's still all the Zappa-isms, lots of open string pull-offs and all of that, but it's not really on this. It's a good solo. It's just not mixed really high, and it doesn't sound like his best work as far as solos, but definitely good. And then we come to Muffin Man, which starts out like as a studio, like with Frank's like spoken word intro talking about muffins being the prince of food, and cupcakes and all of this kind of thing, semi-humorous. And then we start with the Muffin Man riff, and it's one of the most simple riffs ever, but I love it, and it was such a great vehicle for him, because if you hear him on recordings and all of that, he just fucking tears it up every time. So Muffin Man, a great song to kind of end the record with. And the only other tunes that I'll slightly mention, because they're mostly Don Van Vliet pieces, are Sam with the showing scalp flat top. Great Beefheart thing. And then the last one is Man with the Woman Head. And these are basically him kind of delivering, I don't know if you want to call it like spoken word poetry or whatever, with the band just doing kind of like textures and or kind of free playing noise behind him. So there's this great element of kind of controlled chaos with this record and this band that I bet was probably incredible to see when it worked, and then probably barely held together even with such a great band. But there seems to be some, like Captain Beefheart threw in a kind of an element of chaos, I think, that is cool, but also kind of wrought with danger, or whatever you want to say, as far as from a performing musician standpoint. So definitely check out Bongo Fury, one of my favorite Frank records. And the combination of him and Captain Beefheart is hard to beat. And look forward to seeing more reviews of other great Zappa guitar records as well down the road. And thanks for watching. And please subscribe. All right, thanks. Have a great day. Bye.